Recap Roman's story is called The Piano from 1992. Ada has not spoken since she was 6 years old. Around the same age, she started learning to play the piano. Since then, she has been communicating with signs and expressing her moods through music. She has a daughter, Flora, and moves to New Zealand with her. She is married to Alastair Stewart, though they never see each other in person. When she and her daughter arrive, their belongings are unloaded on shore. But Alastair is gone. They wait for him on the shore, hiding from the wind. When Alastair comes to collect his wife with the natives, they realize there is too much stuff, and they leave the piano there. Ada protests and has to choose either the piano or her clothes. The road to the house led through the woods and was very muddy. There is a lot of mud. Alastair traded this land for guns and beads from the natives. When they arrived at his house, Ada was dressed up in a wedding dress and sent to take pictures with her husband. Since they didn't have a real wedding, this way at least they would have a picture with their spouse. Ada was cold to her husband. She longed for her piano, which was her second voice. She went to Baines to ask him to take them ashore. He had no time for her and her daughter, but he agreed. When they got to the beach, Ada started playing and didn't stop for hours. Baines stood by and listened to the music the whole time. He loved it. One day Alastair came home and heard Flora singing. Ada at that moment accompanied her on an imaginary piano. She had carved the keys on an ordinary table. This act alarmed her husband. He thought she was not at home. He decided to consult Aunt Morek, and she said he should wait a while. Soon afterwards, Baines offers Alastair a bargain. He is willing to trade a good piece of land for a piano, but Ada must come and teach him how to play the instrument. Alastair agrees, for he wants to get his hands on as much local land as possible. Ada was not happy about the news, but she had to agree, because this is the only way she can play. At that time, Baines invited a specialist to tune the piano, and when Ada came, he was ready. Ada was very happy, but it did not help her and Alastair to get closer. On Ada and Flora's next visit, something strange happened. As Flora was playing outside, and Ada was at the piano, Baines came up behind her and tried to kiss her. Ada was frightened, but he offered her a deal. She could get the piano back key by key if she would let him do stuff during lessons, while not having to teach him how to play. She thought about it and agreed. The next time Flora and Ada came over, the girl wanted to watch her mum teach him, but she wouldn't let her in and said Baines was shy about taking lessons in front of strangers. Baines meanwhile asked Ada to pull up her skirt. She lifted it up a little, but it wasn't enough for him. He insisted that the skirt be higher. Eventually he lay down on the floor and examined everything that was normally hidden from view. He found a small hole, the hole in Ada's stockings, and touched her skin. During one of the next lessons he asked her to remove her outer clothing and bare her arms. Ada listened to him. When she sat down at the piano, Baines started to caress her skin, but Ada changed her tune, making it clear that she did not enjoy his touch. While Ada was giving lessons to Baines, her husband took care of business. He tried to negotiate with the natives to buy the new land, but they were reluctant to give it to a stranger. One day Alastair asked his mate how his lessons were going, and he admitted that he hadn't learned anything yet. Only Ada said George was making progress. Alastair began to suspect something. In the next lesson, Baines started sniffing Ada's clothes, which embarrassed her. When she tried to take the clothes back, he grabbed her and kissed her, but she resisted. Then he offered to go to bed with him for 4 keys. She refused and was only willing for 5 keys. Baines agreed for 5 keys when she lay down. Then he tried to fondle her again, but he immediately left. Soon afterwards, the locals put on a costume show. Flora attended, and Baines came too. The men mocked him for his love of the piano. There was a rumor that he was taking lessons, and the men thought he had gone soft. Alastair was the only one who didn't laugh at him. He even invited him to sit with them. The performance was so spectacular that the natives invited to the concert rushed to the stage thinking it was going to be a real murder. It took a long time to explain to them, that it was all a game and everyone was alive. During the next lesson, Baines Wabank, while she was playing the piano, he took off all his clothes and asked her to go to bed with him. Ada agreed to do this in 10 keys. Flora was walking nearby and was curious what her mother was doing with this uncle. She peeked through a crack and saw the uncle climbing on top of her mum. After that, she even played this game with the local kids, and they pressed themselves against a tree. She was caught by Alistair for these activities, and he punished her and made her wash her defiled trees. The next time Ada came to see Baines, her piano was being taken outside, and he said that she had paid for it in full and now the piano could be moved to her husband's house. He didn't want her to turn into an available woman and pushed her away. Alistair saw the piano being carried to him and thought he had cancelled the deal. He was angry and thought that now he would have to return the land. George explained that he didn't need the instrument anymore and their deal was still on. This arrangement suited Alistair. Left without a date with Baines, Ada realizes that she has fallen in love with him. She goes to see him and he confesses to her that he has warm feelings for her too. They got busy playing with his flute and her hollow. As Ada walked towards her lover, Flora tried to stop her, but her mother chased her away. The girl was met by Alistair, and he realized that his wife had gone to Baines. When he saw that Ada was using Baines' flute, he decided to watch since she had not yet played with his flute. When they had finished, he climbed under the house to listen to their confessions. Baines offered to come to her again, if their relationship meant something to her too. The next time she went to see him, Alistair caught her and pulled her to the ground, offering to play his flute, but she was saved from playing the flute by Flora. He then boarded up the windows and locked the door so that Ada would not escape again. After a while, his wife began to sleepwalk. She sat down at the piano and began to play. Flora told him that this had happened before. After that, Ada came into her husband's bedroom and started fondling him. This was repeated many times. It made Alistair uncomfortable. Soon they learned that Baines was leaving. Realizing that there was no more danger, he removed the boards from the doors and windows and told his wife that he trusted her, but he asked her not to go to Baines' house again. Ada complied with his request, but she could not leave her lover without a farewell message either. So she took one key off the piano, wrote a message of love, and sent her daughter to Baines. But Laura was against their connection and brought Baines' gift to Alistair. When he saw what it said, he rushed home. In a fit of jealousy, he tried to smash the piano with an axe, but Ada defended her instrument. In response, he chopped off her finger so she couldn't play anymore. He gave the finger to Flora and demanded that she take it to Baines, with the words that if they ever saw each other again, he would chop off a finger for every time they met. Flora delivered the message and Alistair began nursing his wounded wife back to health. At one point she mentally spoke to him and he heard. She asked to be released with Baines. Alistair honored his request. As Ada and George were sailing away, she asked that her piano be thrown into the water. She no longer needed it. When the instrument was sunk, she was carried into the water and would have drowned, but she was able to free herself and float to the surface. She and Baines and Flora began to live together. George gave her a new thumb and she was able to take music lessons and was able to talk a little. That's all for now. Subscribe and like if you want more videos.